McNastee, welcome to the Meister Menagerie.
I am very happy to be here. How are you doing tonight?
Good, good, man. How about yourself?
I can't complain. I'm feeling good right now.
That's good, man. That's good. So, my first introduction to your music. Actually, before we even get into that, let's talk about describe your sound to people because you have a unique like voice, I think.
Um, Voice changed over time. I think that I my background is punk rock, so I came from the punk rock scene and just to try to learn how to record music, I started making hip hop because it was I could make it by myself. I didn't have to have the whole band there, but I still was able to learn how to record. And then the band kind of fell apart, and I stuck with making hip hop. So like historically, I come from rock before I started rapping. So I think there's probably uh there's more of that feel like a more of a grimy edge to it
A lot of
than
diaphragm in your
anything.
vocals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I uh I learned to project um pretty early on when we had all the bad sound systems and everything like that,
Mhm.
and poor equipment. So being able to be loud and not ruin my voice every night became a strength.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's
But
valid
yeah,
for sure.
a lot of stuff I do is like I would like a lot of like people would consider it boom bap stuff, and then
Mhm.
whenever I work with Intrinsic, it's rap metal.
Mhm.
Um, I like to I like to float around, but and sometimes stuff works, and sometimes
Yeah.
it just doesn't. Mm, but you got to go out there and try.
Yeah, my first introduction to your music was Runaway Train of Thought with
Okay,
the DJ Bless produced record.
awesome. Yeah, I just
Yeah,
talked to
yeah.
him. I talked to him on last Monday, and he told me he's living in Africa right now.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, and he said I'm in I'm in work mode. He was mixing a couple records, and then he said, and we've made music since then, like over the years, like and a few tracks have like filtered onto like Darko record or Sutter Kane record.
Yeah.
Then they didn't become like full McNasty projects. It was just like I would do some stuff and I would send it over, and they're like, okay, we're gonna use this for this record. But he says that he had me send over some things that I'm listening to right now. And like, what are you listening to right now? I need some inspiration. And so I sent him a bunch of like drill stuff and a bunch of metal that I've been listening to. So I
Dope.
wonder if anything comes of that.
Yeah.
But hopefully, he always wants to do something, and he'll send like a few beats, and we'll do a few tracks, and then like this verse from this song will end up on a Darko record, or
Mhm.
this will end up on a Kane record. So we'll see. We'll see if we can get another
Dope.
project together.
Well, that's cool to hear that you guys still talk, man, because like I haven't talked to him in probably months now, but I used to have a pretty tight connection. I don't know how tight he would say it was, but we'd have like phone calls and stuff like that, like in the middle of the night talking about like religion and spirituality and shit like that. Because he produced a handful of beats for me as well over the years. So, you know, that's because I was a big fan of his, so that's how I ended up finding that record and then started to learn about your music and yeah.
For sure.
Um, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I like that record. And for some reason, I want to say like there's like a line on one of the tracks where I mentioned Class because he was like, "We're gonna get Class on this record," and so I
yeah.
mentioned Class, and then Darko ends up on the record. But
Mm,
that's kind of like how it happens sometimes. There's like a gang of Menacide records that
mm.
like I did verses for, and I think that Jay Reno and I were talking about that last week. That there's a gang of records we did verses for, and then when the record comes out, somebody else is on it. But it was,
Yeah.
it's just, that process, like Kane, like he might have gotten something from me. Like a lot of times, like I'll do like three verses on the song, and he'll pick two of the verses. You're like, these were the best ones. And then
Yeah.
so like the third verse is like missing because as a producer, like it's his prerogative. Like this sounds the best to him.
Yeah, no, I get that for sure. Yeah, I remember he was doing that with one of the songs that I recorded a while ago, so I could see that for sure. That's crazy though. I didn't realize he moved over to Africa. So, how long have you been rapping for?
20, 22 years.
Okay, so what was your because and forgive me, I've been doing my
No,
research,
you're
but like
good.
there's like songs all over the place, and then I discovered your Discogs yesterday, and then there's a whole Pandora's box of like music and groups that I didn't even know about. So there's a lot of stuff there's probably more stuff I
Yeah.
haven't heard than that I have heard. So I just want to go back to your early years. Like when did you start? What was your first project?
So I first started, so I was in the punk band and I started making just demos. And I put out a demo tape, and there might be three of them. And it was called This Is. And then it was IZZ, like, and then the artwork was like little monsters from the Max. So if you ever seen Sam Keith's The Max, the little monsters were called Ises. And so it's like, it was called This Is.
Okay.
And that was just a recorder on a 4-track tape machine. And a lot of it was, I was working at a record store at the time, and I would buy cassette singles, and on the B side there would be like a rap beat, or there would be the instrumental. And so I would
Mhm.
use that, and I would make songs over those stolen beats. And then mp3.com was a thing, and you could find producers on there, and you could get all kinds of beats from them. And Mike Clark was having a rap contest, and so one of the first songs I ever did was called "This One Goes Out," and it was for his beats for that ass contest. And that's kind of how I fell into the whole Juggalo underground horrorcore scene, was just my introduction through there.
Mhm.
And then Philip from Riders Records was, he was managing Dr. Giggles, who was like a finalist at the time. He was like, "Oh, come over and do this." And then Scotty D from Fago Lovers. Like, I lived in Oklahoma at the time, and he's
Mhm.
in Dallas, and so like we met at a couple shows down there. And he's, man, the kindest dude. Like, I like, he's one of those guys that like I forever prop up, because he's in my corner,
Mhm.
even for things like the gathering. It's like he's one of those guys that can say like, "Hey, book McNasty for the gathering," or whatever. So
Go.
really, really awesome to have people like that champion me early on, because that early stuff, it sounds so bad.
Yeah, we all been there, right?
Mhm.
So, I guess that answered the question that I had about how you got into like the Juggalo and horrorcore scene. Because like if I and no disrespect by this, because some people really love the label like horrorcore, but like I wouldn't classify your music really as horrorcore.
No, like, I would say I dabble in it, and I am a fan of a lot of it, but it's just not something that I can execute, that I feel like people like Scum can just like do it so well, or Insane
Mhm.
Poetry. Like, they do it so well. And even like people that are like as brutal as Sutter Kane on records, it's like,
Mhm.
I'm not there, but I'm a fan of it. And I grew up listening to Ghetto Boys and Bushwick Bill and Gangsta Nip. Like, I was a big like Rap a Lot fan.
Okay.
I lived in Oklahoma, so anything coming out of Texas was like really filtered up through there. So
Yeah. Okay. So you said you're from Texas?
from Oklahoma.
Oh, from Oklahoma.
Yeah,
And you're currently in AZ.
correct.
How long have you been there?
13 years.
Okay.
So it'll be 14 years in December.
Do you fuck with the music scene out there at all, or do you strictly fuck with like the Juggalo scene or?
Yeah. So a lot of like people that I've met through here, through the music scene. um Monks, he runs Mafiotic Misfits.
Okay.
He booked me on a whole lot of gigs. And then Felix, he is a good buddy. He does a lot of gigs at Menos Place in Mesa, Arizona. So I do stuff with him. I work really closely with Respect the Underground, which is a big uh, local artist promoter out here, and they
Okay.
run the Arizona Hip Hop Festival every year. So I think that this is I know that this is the 10th year, and I've done 6 of the festivals
Okay.
um, thus far, and so I'm going to be performing at that in December 10th. They're having all of the the older Arizona artists, like the people that have been putting it down for a long time, uh,
Okay.
do some sets
I think
out
I
there.
heard
So
some of the dudes from Society of Invisibles are playing up at that or
yep,
something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Joe Bags, he's
Yeah.
phenomenal. That's like one of my monks, the guy that I was speaking about earlier, that did some show promotion. Like he actually a few years ago did a TSOI reunion show. So like there
Mm.
was guys coming out from California and other states, and so there was like I want to say 5 of them on stage at once. Like Sun was
Yeah.
there, Joe Bags, like
Dope.
so awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I love those guys. They're cool as fuck. Um let's see. Where do we go next? Okay, so when when did you start like putting out like the because there's the older stuff that you probably don't
Mhm.
promote like you use like you do your newer stuff. When did you start putting out records that you were like proud of? Let's put it that way.
So I would say the first one that sounded good enough, and it was the first one we pressed, like for real on a Glassmaster, was Bootleg in 2004. I
Okay.
just had good enough equipment. The songs are good enough, but then like 2006 Pieces is probably like
Hmm.
where I found really fell into like, okay, I know how to write these songs now, and I know how to put choruses together a little bit better. A lot of people like that record a lot, and I don't like it's like 80 minutes, and I want to say I spent like 2 years putting together that record.
Okay. Sweet. What are some of your because you have a lot of music out there and you've been doing this for a long time, so I could pull out different questions that I don't normally ask people.
Okay.
Um, what are some of your fondest memories of like recording stuff over the years? Like, is there like specific songs or records that you did that like that just that just hit different? You know what I mean? That you'll never forget. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So there, I would my 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 friend brother Menacide flew me and my buddy Kool-Aid out to Detroit, and we went to the disc to record, and he brought King Gordy out, and then Prozac showed up to the session, and I want to say Fritz was there for a moment. Fritz, the cat,
Hmm.
was there. I remember he was there. Now you have to bear in mind, like I remember this, but like Gordy had us smoking blunts back to back to back to back. So
Yeah.
there's like I remember getting there. I remember Prozac showing up. I feel like Fritz showed up. Then Blaze came to pick up a master of his new record from Fritz, but didn't want to come in. I don't know if there was like something with like anybody that was in the building, but
Hmm.
like Blaze didn't want to come in the building, and so Fritz went down, gave him the disc, and then because we went to lunch with Fritz the next day. But there's songs on the 13%, the Heavy Hitters record that we recorded there, and so like anytime like I hear those tracks, and there's songs that I did for Street Symphony, so it's all kind of like I said, it's like I don't remember what goes where, but if I heard the song, I could tell you exactly like, or heard the name of the song, I could tell you like the situation for it.
Hmm.
But like Dan the Saltine showed up later in that session.
Yeah.
We were very blown at that point. Um, and we had spent so much time with the one engineer. that our 10-hour block was done, and then he had like another artist coming in, and so Gordy and Prozac left, and then we went into like the smaller room downstairs and did like two more songs, and uh, uh Dan was so was so funny because he was just like trying to tell the engineer how to do his job. Like, first I'll say this line, and then I'll I'll be silent for like 4 bars, and then I'll say the next line. And then when you come back, like I'll come back and I'll fill in the missing lines. And then I was like, I'm sure the engineer understands what you're trying to do, man. Just go in there and rap. But he was very specific. He's about like how he wanted to be recorded, and uh he was super young at the time. I
Mm.
you know, I was probably 24, 25, and I want to say that Dan was probably like 18 or 19, like young cat, and like
Mhm.
just really excited to be out there. But I love that dude.
Dope. Yeah, sounds fun, man. So over the years, I'm sure you've done like countless shows.
Mhm.
What are some of your since we're on the just going down memory road, memory lane, some of your best memories of shows, like anything crazy that happened, anything that's just like notable?
Um, the like part of me just wants to say like this bad thing happened and this bad thing happened,
Well, we could
but
talk about
I
those
guess I
too,
could
but
talk of that. The like one of the most notable things was like I came out here October of 2009 into to Arizona,
Mhm.
and uh Intrinsic, he got me a job interview with his buddy. I still work at this company to this day. Got me a job interview with his buddy. I did the interview. He was like, I'm gonna give you some freelance stuff. We'll see how clients like it. If I like working with you, like I'll shoot you a job offer. So cool. Then we open for Tech Nine. And so it's nuts. Like like the 5 days that I spent out in Arizona, like I had a job interview. We opened for Tech Nine. We went to go see Strung Out and Calabrese at the clubhouse. We went to a Phoenix Suns game. I was like, man, I've got to kill this job and get this get this gig. And yeah, I got it. And then December of 2009, I moved out here to Arizona, and I've been out here ever since. And had the
dope.
opportunity to play so many sick gigs. The That Tech Nine show was probably one of the most awesome because he was on the side of the stage watching, and it's like I like after that opening for Tech, never saw him
Mhm.
on the side, but like to have him like on the side of the stage, like checking out what was going on, was really awesome. And then like personally, for just for me, like after living out here in Arizona for a little while, I went back to Oklahoma to play a show, and uh like sold out a little micro venue,
Mhm.
which is only probably like 100 or so people. But everybody that came out, they bought out the all the PBR and all of the Blue Moon from the bar. And
Yeah.
like I wanted to do a door split with the venue. I said, like, I'll bring some people out, we could do door split, I guarantee you they'll drink or whatever. At the end of the night, like, they handed me the money. It was like $700. I was like, I've never, like, this is the most money I've ever gotten for a show, you know. uh
Yeah.
it was a good feeling. It was a good feeling to go back home and then still like have all my people come out to support, even though I'd been gone for a few years.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that for sure. So, since we're on this, let's see the other side of the coin. Let's talk about some terrible experiences with shows.
Okay. um it's like this is gonna sound bad because like I'm like, oh, that's an ICP gig. Oh, but that's an ICP gig. Okay. uh there was a tour, and maybe it was called Happy Days, I want to say. It was like Necro and Coolio and
Mm.
ICP, and they were playing 2 nights in Tempe, Arizona. The first night, then you have like here's like a backstory. Like people like come from around like Arizona and New Mexico when ICP comes to town.
Mm.
So like people had traveled from Gallup, New Mexico, and northern Arizona like 4 or 5 hours to get to Tempe to see this show, and the trucking company brought the wrong drink, so they brought like full flavor like sugar Fago, and they throw the diet because it doesn't stick. There's
Yeah.
no stickiness to it, so they had to cancel the gig, and then
Mm.
they pushed, and then they but they would honor the tickets for the second gig because they sold out 2,500 on the first night.
Mm.
But for the second night, they had only sold, I want to say like 400 or 500 tickets for the second night.
Mm.
So they were honoring the tickets for the second night for the people from the first night. Well, the promoter was scrambling. He was like, "We got to get word out that the show date moved, and we're honoring tickets. And like, if you guys can sell some tickets, cool. But we just need to get all this word out. That they're gonna do the show, and we're gonna try to recoup anyone that we had to refund, or whatever." So we said, all right, we agree to the show. Well, we get to the show and nobody's having it. Like they're pissed that had to wait 4 days. Some people just like camped, like waiting for this show, and they didn't want to have the JCW. They didn't want to have us. Like some cat, like people were throwing stuff from the crowd,
Mm.
and like there's a lighter. It's a blue lighter with a red feather on it. I've held it ever since. Someone threw at me and it hit me in the face, and I kept that lighter just to be humble. Like, you're not a star, man. Like this can happen to anybody, and
Mm.
that was like, it was a humbling experience. But like, you know, like doing the show, and then Mr. Hyde from Psychological Records, like Necro's dude,
Mm.
was really nice. Necro, like, and like he blocked me on Twitter because of Sutter Kane, like my association.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so like I said what up, but I didn't want to like be like, here's who I am, bro, whatever. Like I
Yeah.
just avoided that whole situation. But Hyde was cool. Like all the artists are cool. And man, Violent J was, super cool.
Mm.
Every time I've ever met him, like, has been like incredibly gracious. And um another experience I had was Twisted invited me to play at the Big Baller Christmas party. And like I want to say there might be a little bit of hazing going on here, but I get a phone call and says, Billy Bill says you have to have your set on an ADAT machine. Everybody plays off of ADAT. So I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I'm playing off an iPhone. It's
Mm.
2008. Like, I'm playing off of an iPod or whatever,
Yeah.
and I'm we're driving 23 hours to Detroit, and I'm calling studios to find out like, where can I get an ADAT made? And so I find a studio in Sterling Heights, and like the show is in Pontiac, and the hotel is somewhere. And so I drive 40 minutes. I get up in the morning and I drive 40 minutes from the hotel to this studio for a 10 a.m. studio session so that they can just take my CD and turn it into an ADAT. Well, apparently something happened around song 4, and the ADAT auto rewinds. So like
Mm.
like 10 minutes into my set, I'm on stage, and the tape rewinds, and then the sound guys, there's nothing here. So I had to I had to hit him with the acapella and thanks, good night. I had 20 more minutes of a set, and
Damn.
it was like the worst feeling, because like me and my buddy Big Slack, and he was so awesome to hype for me. Uh,
Mm.
but we're on stage, and before the show, they're like I go backstage, and Jay is just like, yo, you guys, like under the tree, there's a bunch of presents. Throw those out into the crowd. Uh, this is for y'all. This is for the juggalos, just like like get them hype, like give them some gifts. There, it's like jerseys and t-shirts and everything wrapped under the tree. And so like the 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 set breaks down mid-set,
Mm.
and I go into like rapping some acapella something. Like I'm trying to rap 30 bars or 32 bars just to like get it off and see if like the sound guy can get the situation fixed. And then my buddy, he just starts like football launching like t-shirts and stuff from the stage just to try to save face. But like,
Yeah.
it was amazing opportunity. And then you know they realize like, oh, this is, it sucks, sorry about it. And well, man, it sucks so bad because then Boondocks goes up and he gives the sound engineer his iPod with his
Oh,
and so like I was like, I'm certain like someone was hazing me or just seeing like how far I would go to do this.
yeah.
Like what will this guy go through to do this? And like, man, I'd do anything. Like I love relish those opportunities, and like that the crowd is awesome, and like they're loyal to death,
Yeah.
so like you know I I get it. And like just have those people. And then I feel like I have like a few day ones that I to this
Mm.
day that I'm just so grateful for, because like that kind of like loyalty or fervor for an artist is rare.
Yeah,
um
definitely.
but I followed it up, and like I got invited to the gathering the next year. They said I could use the iPod, and then the sound guy was not ready for the iPod. Like he was like, oh, what's this? And so I was like, not again. But oh, it went off without a hitch. Like it was wonderful. I did a 420 on 4:20 p.m. on day one at the gathering stage, the second stage, and
Hell yeah.
I just had an amazing time.
Dope.
But yeah, those two gigs, the the lighter gig, and I almost kind of like want to look behind me and see like if it's just sitting on this bookshelf, because it's always nearby. It's
Mm.
usually in my case with my microphone. Like
Okay.
it just stays there, it's like a kind of a reminder. Um but um yeah, like those two were probably like, oh man, this is terrible. I mean, there was worse. Like I did a car show one time and I just got booed out of the building.
Oof.
That was not my gig. Like it was like, I want to say March 2004. March. Yeah, it was like March 2004. Menacide and I just put out the spring training mixtape, and like me and Kool-Aid and the other guys that I messed around with making music in Oklahoma, like we are like, let's buy a table at this car show, and then we can sell our CDs from at the car show. Like it'll be our gig. We
Mm.
made we sold a lot of stuff, but then they offered us, the chance to perform, and people really just wanted to see cars jumping and everything else, like the
Yeah.
hydraulic contest and all that other stuff. They didn't want to see us like in like, and it was tough because it's like it was set up like it's a coliseum, and so it's set up like maybe like a basketball court or whatever. And so
Mm.
like everyone's above and around you, and you're just down on the floor, and you're trying to perform for people up here. So it's like the exact opposite of like what a regular show is, when the artist is up here and
Yeah.
everyone's down here. It's like you're down here and you're looking up and you're trying to please all these people up here. Uh it was a day. It was the longest 10 minutes of my life.
Yeah, sounds like it, man. So I have not been to the gathering of the Juggalos.
Okay.
What is that experience like? What was that experience like for you? Like everyone I've had on this show seems to have a story about the gathering.
So I went to the second gathering. Like the second, like 2001 was like the first gathering I went to.
Okay.
and it was right around when I first started making music, and I was like, my sole purpose there was like I gotta meet Mike Clark. Like he put me on. Like basically he's the guy that put me on.
Mhm.
Like I rapped on his beats and he put them on his website, and I got third place, fourth place, whatever it was in his contest. And that's where any notoriety in that scene came from.
Mhm.
Uh and so it was my friend Steve, Martin, Angie, and Danny, and they were like, it's $100. We can all hop in the Suburban, we'll make the road trip. And so that was the 20-hour drive up to Ohio. And uh I got to perform a song on the JCW stage, and that was like super sick, you know.
Mhm.
The idea of it all, well, it was just so, it's in a convention center, and in this convention center they had a stack of tables in a hallway. Well, Juggalos saw the stack of tables, and they just started power bombing each other through these tables. They would we were in line for like Twisted Seminar or something. It had to be Twisted Seminar. And there's this stack of tables. Just like they stack the chairs on the side, they had a stack of tables, and
Mhm.
I want to say 4 or 5 tables were destroyed before security like came and had somebody grab the cart of tables and move it into like a secured location. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's what juggalos do. Like they and there were Mountain Dew ads. There were Mountain
Yeah.
Dew ads throughout this convention center. And there's like fuck Mountain Dew, you know?
Mhm.
And so all of the signs said, it said, someone wrote fuck above Mountain Dew logo. Fuck Mountain Dew. Uh and um yeah, like I was there. Oh, I went. There was I want to say it was like the first like outdoor gathering. There was camping, and my buddy Sean Collins, he called me up and he was like, "Yo, I could pick you up from the gathering, and we can go to Akron, and you could record in my studio. We could do a song or whatever, or you could, uh, hear us work at the studio that we work at." I was like, "Okay, cool." And so he picks me up, and we go out there. And then on the way back on the highway, I guess some wiring was bad in his speakers, and the fucking trunk caught on fire. The trunk got the trunk got put out, and we get back. I get back to the gathering, and it's sunset or whatever.
Mhm.
And I'm walking. It's like been a long day. I left the gathering. I went to the studio, got back, and now I'm walking back towards the campsite. And some fool throws a pizza slice at my face, and it just like smacks me like this. And it's just, man, it had to happen. It
Mhm.
was that day. But then I just kept wandering, and I found myself at like the outskirts of the campgrounds, and um Alex Abbas is there, and Jay pulls up in a golf cart, and he just starts telling stories. And it's just like the most surreal experience, because like juggalos are making hot dogs or whatever, and they're like, "Hey man, you want a hot dog?" Yeah, fuck yeah. And then like Jay is telling stories, and Alex is there. It's just so like surreal to like be part of that, And
Mhm.
there, they say like carnival magic and all that stuff. It was fucking awesome. It was like a magic experience. It's like those things that I would like never change, never trade. I hate the idea of camping. I am a hotel jug. Like you can tell a motherfucker. Like I I will go.
Yeah.
I will leave the gathering grounds. I will go sleep in a regular bed. I will shower. I will cook, food at
Yeah.
the hotel, and then I will come back refreshed, ready for the next,
Mhm.
situation. But though, there's some warriors out there and they'll be there like 5 days, 3, 4, 5 days before the gates open, and they'll, parking lot party.
Yeah.
And uh shout out to those guys. Like,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
but me, but me,
I'm with
like,
you there, man. I'm with you there. Yeah. I need to make it out to one of these gatherings one of these days. I've always wanted to go since I've learned that it exists and I started getting into the music scene, but I just that I've just never pulled the trigger on it and get out there. So it needs to happen.
Oh yeah, it's so fun. And
Mm.
even if it's, a lot of times it's like my best memories of it aren't, the music, you know, it's not, man, that was, except Shangri-La. I love that set when they did that set. And, but like a lot of it is just like, oh, and then, I hung out with Hatred and Whipstick and Mr. Eight Legs, and we
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
kicked it. And, it wasn't even about like, watching Steel Panther or anything like that. It was just about being with the homies.
yeah. No, I get that for sure. How often do you go?
Um, I've gone to 8, which
Okay.
sounds bad. There's been what, 20 plus gatherings now.
No, I mean
But
eight's a lot more than me, man.
yeah,
So
yeah, I wanted to go this last year, but they ended up sliding it in around like Independence Day weekend. And
mm,
yeah, that didn't work out, but I will. Um, and I had taken off a whole bunch of time to go tour, um, just a couple months before that. So,
okay. Yeah.
but maybe, I say maybe it's got to happen next year because I'm supposed to battle at the gathering. So,
Oh, dope. Dope. So I want to talk about the battle rap thing here in a second, but before I
okay.
move on, since we are on the topic of shows still, I wanted to we could quickly plug and promote Night of the Shrunken Heads.
Yeah. So, October 13th and 14th, I will be performing October 13th at the Happy Place in San Antonio. Shrunken Head Entertainment is throwing a festival. They're doing one, I think, in Indiana at Carl's Tavern. I did the one night event that was in Gallup um, a couple months ago, and uh, yeah, I Class is going to be performing. Chuckles is coming out. I'm really like,
Yeah.
so I'm performing on night one on Friday the 13th, but I'm really excited to be in the audience for night two, because night two is like SON is performing. Clockwork E is coming out, who I've
Mhm.
never seen, and they're from Ohio, so it's like they're gonna come a long way to come out. So I really want to see them, and I know
Yeah.
that Opie Halogen is playing, so I want to see him. Samson from
Yep.
Dirt Core and Gavin Gunn are both playing, so I want to see those sets. I'm
Mhm.
just, it like I get the opportunity to perform and share the stage with some of my contemporaries, but I'm really excited to be there as a fan, just to watch some of these artists I've never seen before.
Yeah, it's a great lineup for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
and it's free.
yeah.
And the Jameson shots are like $4. So like last year I was like completely.
Well, that sounds like fun for sure.
Oh yeah, and if you want to drink shot for shot, go shot for shot with Insane Lope. He'll be
Okay. Well, I don't know
there.
if I don't if I ever may see the that event's another one that I really want to go out to, and then Gorefest also is another one that I really want to make it out to. But
Oh yeah,
yeah, bucket list stuff. Maybe next year I'll travel a whole bunch. So we'll see.
yeah. I'd like to go to Gorefest. I've never been, and
Mm,
like Uncle Phoenix from Grim Reality Entertainment out here, he's there every year, and then a couple of the guys from Prescott Valley that are associated with Grim Reality, Zodiac and Double Boyer, they
no
go
dope.
out there. They say it's just super sick.
Dope. So battle rap. You said you're going to be battling someone at the gathering.
Yeah, the gentleman that won this year's uh freestyle battle contest at the gathering. Um, I will go up against him. He is part of the Deck One Dealt podcast, and
Okay.
it kind of came up like, oh, do you want to battle? Like, yeah, I'll battle you. So I don't know what it's if it's going to be like a traditional uh um like he does the over the beat battles, or if we're gonna
Mm,
do like an acapella style. I wonder if like I don't even know how we're gonna facilitate this.
yeah.
Whether it's just gonna be like some offshoot, we're just gonna do it.
Yeah.
We're just gonna get out there.
Okay.
But
Did
but yeah,
do
I've
you
go ahead.
do you have a history of battling at all?
No, and
Okay.
even if it is, it's been written disses over beat, so it
Mhm.
would probably work better for me to be over the beat freestyling. Um,
Okay.
but but it's kind of tough because when you know your opponent, you can come with some like preloaded rounds. But I
Yeah.
know that that's like, I don't know. We need to establish like what is the qualifications for this battle before we go into it, because it's something I love to do something
Mhm.
in the style of like the grind time, king of the dot, smack URL, long form acapella battle.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see how it shapes up.
Okay. Okay. That's exciting though for sure. Um so now I want to talk about which I believe was your most recent project. Pulling it up right now cuz I'm terrible with names. The Elbow Drop 1.3.
Yes.
You want to talk about this project? What was the inspiration behind it? The what was the creation process like?
So a lot of like the elbow drop, it's ended up being like the bootlegging projects early on, where it's like a bunch of singles
Mm,
just compiled into one body of work. Um, the the idea, really it was, I needed something at the gathering to give, to hand out, to try to sell, to do something anyway, in any way to increase like reach, or gather new people into the
mm,
fold. But uh there was um it really was just a bunch of songs like thrown together, and I just call it an, because a drop is like, just random, it happened. There's the phrase elbow drop is like, you could say it's a Macho Man reference,
yeah.
because he comes off the top rope with the elbow drop. It could be a drug reference, where if someone does an elbow drop, maybe they're dropping off a pound of something
Mm,
to somebody. But it's just like, here it is, and it was 1.3. I did a version that had less songs on it, and I gave it away strictly at a Demon Jones show that was out here. He's like a country, I want to say country rapper from Georgia, and I wanted to put something together for people that they could take with them, and I pressed up 100 of them, and
mm,
I sold I sold a good deal of merch that night. I met a whole lot of people. I got you know a few followers online. But the thing, it was like the first time like I realized, like, okay, like, people aren't taking the CD, they're just scanning the Spotify QR code, you
mm,
know
mm.
like, so it was a completely different audience. I'm so used to like the fans that come to the shows and they want to grab something like physical from the artist to take with them, and this was like, oh, no, that's fine, I'll just follow you on Spotify. So
Do you think that's a hip hop thing or a horrorcore thing or that people love the physical CDs and the physical merch like that?
I think a lot of it is, um it it I want to say it might be the nature of it. Like, there are, the early adopters that have like the grail merch, and so I think that there's a lot of speculators in the scene that might think like, oh, they might approach it from the point of like, this might be worth something sometime someday, so let me get
Mm,
this. But then there are a lot of people that like I talk to online to this day, like even when I put out a single, um are you going to do a hard copy? I mean, man, it's just a single, it's just a song, like
yeah,
they're
yeah.
like you and 8 other people might buy it. But um the I it might be just like part of the culture there,
Mm,
like with the underground, because I remember when I was getting into it, like, I wanted House of Crazy's records. I wanted House of Crazy's tapes, and it was just like you can't get them.
Mm,
They were impossible to get. You could get like the remixes in maybe the night they came home, but you couldn't get Head Trauma. You couldn't get um, any of the early records.
mm,
Like, and so I think like part of it is like when in the underground scene, like people like they find something and they belong. They feel like this person is saying all the things that I'm into. And so like that's when you get those like hardcore like LSP fans and they just soak up everything. They want, oh, give me the smallest one records, give me the insane poetry records. I need this hex rated, I need this class, I need all this scum. And then like the scum records, you can't find a bunch of old ones. Like Bloodshot. Like he has like records like Camp Horror and Bloody Professor, and these are records that he probably pressed 100 of. And like people will pay a lot of money to get those records. And I think it's part of like it's part of, you know, being, you know, fanatical in the scene. Like
mm.
people want to like that's how they prove their fandom. Like this is how much I love these artists. You know, they go out and they buy the merch and they
Mm.
rock the jerseys and they get the pre-orders and they, you know, buy the big, you know, buckshot like
Yeah.
a sick ass $200 merch package where you're getting like a jersey, a charm, a coin, the CD itself, and like you have a whole experience of like of uh of unboxing and opening it and like and it's part of it's also like this is mine, you know, this
Mm.
is not for the mainstream, this is not for like the greater public, like this is mine and it's sick. And like artists like Low Key are just like making like
Yeah.
incredible like music on an underground level. And like Buckshot, LLE, like they're producing top tier merch, you know,
Yeah.
that's like that can rival any, you know, anything that you like buy in the store.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that for sure. Cause like when I try to think of genres that do that, like I know metal and punk can do that. Like there's like metalheads love rocking band merch and stuff like that. So I'm
Yeah.
like, but I don't feel like I see that with a lot of other genres. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like you'll have like group like I know Jelly Roll had a bunch had he had like a lyric book with his Whitset Chapel album, like that you could like pre-order. And like he had specific merch
Mm,
packages. And I know that like you have to be like mega to like I think, you know, offer that. Like Travis Scott was like really big at merch. Like the Eminem merch drops are always kind of crazy, like his anniversary drops.
mm,
You'll see stuff like but yeah, I'm trying to think, you know, punk a lot of times you'll be able to get like Rancid's last record had like 8 different vinyl. They're just different colored vinyls, but like
mm.
this color vinyl is specific to this record store. This colored vinyl is like specifically, you know, for like the breast cancer research one, and this, you know, this one goes over here. And so like if you're like a hardcore Rancid fan and you're a collector, like you might try to get all those places to get all those different vinyls. Um but yeah, there are fanatics I think in every genre. But I'm just trying to think of like I don't know when I ever saw like a Luke Bryan or Florida Georgia Line merch pack, you know, or
Yeah.
drop, you know. But like Suicide Boys, they do a drop, like the stuff sells out in minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what I was thinking. It kind of reminds me, I don't know if you ever got into comics, but like kind of reminds me of like the way comics come out with like variant covers and you can get like it's like sometimes they'll come with like a little I don't know if I don't think they do it as much nowadays, but sometimes they'd have like 3D glasses in there or something like that. It kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, for
Um
sure. And or like sneaker culture, like streetwear
oh,
culture, like
yeah, for
Supreme
sure.
and like Jordans and stuff like that. Like, but you know,
Well,
you'll you'll hit those drops, but like there aren't people out there buying every pair of Jordans, but there are
Mhm.
people out there buying every album that comes out on Mob Style or every
True.
album that comes out on Long Live Evil.
I guess that kind of makes sense now that you mention it, that because streetwear culture and hip hop have kind of gone hand in hand for years and years. So I guess it kind of makes sense that hip hop artists and subgenres would be able to do merch packages like that.
Yeah.
So that's that's valid.
Like I like the collabs too,
Yeah.
a lot of times like you'll get like this brand with this artist,
Mm,
and like you'll be, and you can only buy it at this like pop-up shop. Like that
yeah.
happens like from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the corner of Melrose and whatever in Los Angeles. You can,
Yeah.
man, there was an Odd Future
Yep.
like pop up like locally here near ASU at a skate shop. I drove by it before work one day. I was like, I didn't know what was happening, but there was like a line around the block, and apparently it was like an Odd Future just pop up shop
Mhm.
that was happening. Like I had no, idea
Yeah.
it was happening, but like that's so sick just to see like, oh, that's happening right now.
Yeah. I remember when that happened in LA. Shit, it was almost 10 years ago now, but I remember I knew people that went out there and they were like going crazy for it. So it's like, and then Wu-Tang used to do that kind of stuff also. So it's
Yeah,
cool to see still. So when did you adopt the Macho Man Randy Savage thing?
man. The There's a Zach Z Monster, rest in
Mhm.
peace to him. He uh was we were doing I did a show and I don't even remember who I it maybe it was like a grim reality show. It probably was. It was just at this little bar in Phoenix, and I was just saying to those guys, like, uh I'm gonna dress as Macho Man. I'm gonna wear this Macho Man Halloween costume when I rap.
Mhm.
And Z Monster just flipped his lid. He was like, yo, this is fucking crazy. Like I'm outside behind the venue getting ready to go on stage. And he's just like, this is you got to do this every time now. And I go out on stage and I start rapping, and it's like what like I went out on stage and like you could tell people were like, what the fuck is this? And then I start rapping, and it's like it's kind of like I don't know if I don't want to call it a disguise. It's more like it disarms people because like
Mhm.
they don't know what to they think, oh, this is going to be some kind of joke. But then I start going into the songs, and they're like, oh, this guy can kind of rap. So it's like yeah, I think it's one of those things where people like expect less instantly when they see
Mhm.
this ridiculous costume on
Okay.
stage. And I work a lot with a company called Cardillo Weight Belts since 2013. I've done a lot of like social media posts for them. I've gone to different conventions or whatever promoting the product or helping create content for them.
Mhm.
And that guy creates Hulk Hogan's belts, and he created some of the Macho Man stuff when he was in WCW. And they were friends until Randy passed. And like, I was just like, I'm thinking about doing this thing, and yeah, he was all in on it. And he makes the weight belts, and he helped, kind of like kind of got the okay, it's just like, yeah, yeah, you should go ahead and do that. But it really was like a thing. I did it at that one show. I told Dirty from Pennsylvania, like, oh, I'm doing this thing. And he was like, yo, you gotta do that Macho Man thing at UPS. And so I came out there and did it there. So now that was the second time. So now it's a thing. So
Mhm.
then it became a thing. And then uh, my girlfriend, she helped put all the tassels in this leather jacket and put all the spikes and everything. And we made, I say she made a jacket for me
Mhm.
to wear. So that was like part of it. And then like the Zubaz pants was just like, all right, I just I want to do something with it to kind of like make it uh a little less Halloween costumey, but still like visually like um, I want to say the word I want to use is ridiculous. It's just like
Yeah.
it's just it's a spectacle. You know, you
Yeah.
come out, and since then it's like I don't wear that all the time, but like I might wear like a whole sequin jacket with silver shoes with spikes on it. It's like just doing something that's visually striking, because there are so many artists out there that have like really cool like sick gimmicks, and it's like not me. Like super famous Funtime guys, they have the lucha gimmick, and like I love it.
Mm.
Like I'm so grateful for Whip's friendship, and I'm grateful for Legs also. Um, but like they have an awesome look. Alazu Ilu, they all look the same with the forever face, and like that's a super cool look. And
Yeah.
Clockwork E, they do the like the silver thing, SON. Like these are a bunch of masked or like gimmicked up um
Yeah.
artists, but it's something different because like I do a lot of local showcases out here, and there's just so many guys, and yeah, it can all start sounding the same, and then they can all start looking the same. They look like me right now, like they,
Yeah.
get the fitted hat, you just plain t-shirt,
Yeah.
the clean, jeans and the clean shoes, and like everybody kind of looks the same. And so if you're able to separate yourself and you have like a cool look, any
Mm.
kind of edge to it, like Whitney Payton's out here, and like she has her own style, and she doesn't look like any of the other female rappers that are out here. She's like got a cool punk rock aesthetic, like a
Yeah.
rocker aesthetic.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I have an affinity for that kind of stuff, for things that just like stand out, the masked rappers, the like
Oh, I love it,
costumes, all that stuff. Yeah.
and when I in 2002 gathering, I did the MC contest, and like I didn't win. Like V Sinister, like he beat me in the contest and got that deal with Psychopathic. And Jump City said, he's like, man, you need a gimmick. It took me, 16 years,
Mhm.
15 years to come up with something. But it's like, okay, I have a look now, like, but
Yeah.
there was times like I went through like certain phases. Like I think like 2005 to 2007, I was wearing like full suits with like Kangol hats on
Mhm.
stage, and that was the look. And then you know um I just kind of fell out of that thing, and then
Yeah.
tried a more like rocker aesthetic, but then the Macho Man thing, it just like works. I love old school wrestling.
Yeah.
Like the guy that makes the glasses for me is super sick. uh like all of that stuff is really legit, and
Mhm.
I appreciate him working with me. Like his company's called Rasslor, Rasslor, and like
Okay.
he makes the glasses, and um it's fun. Like, and then even like Razikel last time when I was doing the Gallup show, she's like, are you gonna wear the jacket, are you gonna do it this time? Because I think the time I performed before with them, like I don't think I wore the get up. I was like, oh, whatever my reasons were, I didn't travel with the jacket, so
Mhm.
um I I did that last time, and like they were all in. Everyone else had a good time at that show.
So, so I've never really watched wrestling. If you were to tell somebody like myself who's never really watched it that I had to watch one match, what match would that be?
Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels ladder match, WrestleMania 10.
You knew immediately.
That's it. That's the
All right.
match.
All right. All right. I'm gonna watch it then and let you know.
Yeah. And after that is probably, Randy Savage, Ricky Steamboat, WrestleMania 3. And then, just, the like I'm like Hogan,
Okay. Okay.
Macho, Warrior. So like
Oh, dope.
Hogan versus Warrior, WrestleMania 6. Like I'm like old school. But it's like
Yeah.
there's matches like you know, in the last few years that are just like amazing matches to watch. Like the performers are like so much more. athletic and agile, and
Mm.
just more graceful to watch now. But as a kid, like these like roided out dudes, like just beating each other's brains in. That was my
Yeah.
thing. But like if I had to choose a match, oh man, not Shawn Michaels, but Stone Cold versus Bret Hart, you know, is I want to say WrestleMania 13, like that might 14. It's one of those like
Okay.
where they do the double turn. So like uh Bret Hart is the good guy going into the match. Stone Cold is the bad guy going into the match, and then by the end of the match, they switch
Mhm.
positions. So like everybody, by the end of the match, everyone loves Stone Cold, and everyone's like booing Bret Hart. So it's like just like the storytelling aspect of that match is fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll check those out. Um, so I got a couple of last questions. But pretty simple, and I don't want to take up your whole night. And I've been recording, like I had one other interview right before this one also, so I've been doing
Oh
this for
well,
like 2.5 hours. I've been so busy.
yeah.
but but what's next?
Um, I've been recording and just writing music, and like instead of like putting it out, you know, single by single, I've just been kind of like recording songs. And there's an artist and his name's Kasky, and he was just like, I listened in an interview, I think it was probably bootleg Kev interview. They just record songs and then they record them until they have like a big stockpile of songs, and they say like, oh, these songs would fit together as a theme for an album or for a record, for EP or whatever have you. And so like I'm kind of like taking that approach now, like let me just make a bunch of songs, because if I make a bunch of songs and at once and then I try to put them all out at once, maybe they don't feel the same. Um so I'd like to have like, if I put out a project, I want to have a feel. And I know that when I work with singular producers, you're able to have a feel to a record. So like I have like a gang of Bad Mind tracks, and then I've got like a gang of um Jay Reno beats sitting here. I've got a bunch of stuff for Scatterbrains, and he does Jelly Roll and Struckle Jennings production. So I I kind of hope that like maybe they're producer projects, because I love working with Sutter Kane, and I know that like anything that we were to put together, it would have a cohesive feel to it.
Mm.
But like I think with something like Elbow Drop, there's just so many different producers. I'm mixing some tracks, Crossworms mixing some tracks, Intrinsic is mixing some tracks, and it might not have like as cohesive a feel as I would like
Mhm.
to have in a record. But as it was presented, it's just like, here's a bunch of songs. If you don't know me, awesome. If you're a collector, you can have all these in a physical format. But basically all these songs are, up for streaming
Mhm.
everywhere. But so next is probably just working on that. I think I might be working with the super famous Fun Time guys,
Dope.
adding some things with their next project. Che Reno just approached me about doing another verse for him for his next project. So I'm always open to collabs. If you got a song, shoot it my way, drop something on it. Yeah.
Cool. Dope, man. Um, are there any producers that you would love to make a record with?
Um, there was an opportunity like forever ago, and it was my like own, hesitation that kind of like I dropped the ball on it. Like if I could go back and do, not even go back, if I could move forward and do, an EP with Mike Clark, I think that would just like bring everything full circle. Um,
Yeah.
I went to the Fun House and we made one song called I'm Wrong. Um, and put that out, and it's a fun song. I was like a lot approach that song with like a lot more simplicity, and it came out well,
Mhm.
like he coached me a lot, like uh early on. And it's so funny because like he called my mom. Like he called my mom's house because I think I had sent a demo to him, and he listens to everything. Trust me, because we had a wild listening party in his in his studio, just all kinds of like randomness. But he listens to everything, and he called my mom's house because I think that was the phone number that I put on like a business card or something I sent into it, and he left a voicemail. He's like, "Hey, McNasty, I listened to your demo. Um, you got a lot of good hooks, but you could work on your rapping. You could, but but don't forget the hooks. The hooks are good. So keep focusing on those, and then and your rapping will come together. Whatever he said. And then when I went to the studio and worked with him, like he was talking about, I think 50 Cent in the club had come out at the time,
Mm.
and he was saying like everything's a hook. Yo, shorty, it's your birthday. That's a hook. And then there's the hook. Find me in the club. There's the hook. And then my show, my dough, what be like? There's another thing. He's just like it's very sing-songy. It's like very easily memorable after you hear it the first time. He's like, do that stuff. Like being the lyrical spiritual miracle is great, but like do the stuff that people remember. So
Mm.
if I could work with one producer, that would be it.
Dope.
I would love to like spend, a week at the funhouse or in his cabin studio, like in northern Michigan, and just like let's put 6 songs together and see what happens. Like
Mm.
so that would be bucket list shit. So
Dope. Hell yeah, man.
that would be the guy.
Yeah, that would be sick for sure. Um, okay, so these are the last two questions, and I asked them to everybody at the end of each episode. First being, which is simple because we've already named a bunch of names, but any shout outs that you want to give out specifically?
Um, so I said I earlier I talked about Respect the Underground, so I just want to shout out Justice Samuel of Respect the Underground. He is, he and I have like grown closer as friends, like rather than just like associates with like doing work or whatever, shows. So big shout out to him. Big shout out to Whipstick and Legs again from Super Famous Fun Time Guys. You know, um, Intrinsic. He took me out on the road with him with Twisted. Like I've known that guy since 2003. I love him to death. We've done underground hustling forever,
Mm.
and you know, that's my guy. But like, yeah, shout out to Jay Reno. Rest in peace to Menagerie. Rest in peace to Z Monster.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that's that's it for right now. I forget people, but I think I shouted out so many
Yeah,
people
we
during the
talked.
course of
We said
that.
a lot of names throughout the show. So the last question: do you have any words of advice or encouragement or just wisdom in general to any up and coming artists out there?
Um, just just put it out. Just put it out there in the world. Like it like early on I would, as I was getting better, I was like, man, I wish I wouldn't have put these records out because these records sound so much better. But you're gonna get you're gonna find people that gravitate towards you, towards whatever energy you're putting out
Hmm.
into the world as you do it. Just put it out. And like I made the mistake of like letting a lot of like personal things get to me, and it slowed down my momentum like greatly. Um, don't never slow down. Never just keep going, keep keep pushing at it. You'll break through one day. 1,000 hours. You have to put 10,000 hours into it. You know, before you break through, and then you see it all the time. Like there's people like the Jelly Roll right now. You know, 20,000 people shows. 6 7 years ago, that dude was playing for 100 people. You know,
Hmm.
he was doing collabs that were less than what it costs to pay your rent at this point. And like now he's doing 20,000 people. Like but he never stopped. He just kept. He had that mind state, he kept getting better. He kept listening, to people, that were making records, and then he found his voice, and like now he's resonating with so many people. So just like, keep going, find your voice. You'll find it. You know, you may you might stumble into it, one day and just like, oh man, this is it. Who knows? Like, 5 months from now, it's like I could find something that just like it clicks, and then I'm firing on all cylinders, But for right now, I'm just, I'm in the background making some music.
Oh, yeah, it's perfect. Well, McNasty, thank you very much for hopping on the show. I know I've been bugging you on and off for the last weeks and weeks, but I
Oh yeah,
appreciate,
yeah.
yeah, I appreciate you hopping on. It's been a pleasure to talk to you and hear all this history.
Awesome, Zach. I appreciate you, man. It's always fun, and I feel like sometimes I come on and on these things, and I tell, I might tell the same story a few times, but like every time I do it, like, oh, there's something different. Like
Mm,
this time we talked about like some of the bad or some of the funny things, like
mm,
the pizza in the face. I don't think I've ever talked about
yeah.
that before, but
Okay.
it's great, and I'm super excited. You know, let's people, if you bug Kane, tell Sutter Kane, DJ Bless, send me some beats. Let's make some songs. Let's put out some music.
Yeah, I got a bunch of beats in the fucking vault that I need to finish before I ask him for any more. But
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, definitely, man. Well, you have a great night and thank you again.
All right, man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.